I sat at the elaborate dining table in my parents' home, pushing around the perfectly cooked salmon on my plate while enduring another round of what had become a familiar ritual, my mother's detailed explanation of why I was a disappointment. And then Olivia got another promotion. My mother gushed about my cousin to the gathered family members. Senior vice president at only 28. While Sarah here. She gestured at me with her wine glass. Well, she's still just a secretary at that little company. What was it called again, dear? Quantum Dynamics, I said quietly, not bothering to correct her about my actual position. And it's not that little, Mom. We're one of the largest tech dash. Yes, she waved her hand dismissively. Taking notes and getting coffee for important people. At least you have good health insurance, I suppose. My father, ever the silent partner in my mother's disappointment campaign, merely sipped his wine and avoided eye contact. The rest of our relatives watched with that particular mix of pity and schadenfreude reserved for family members who weren't living up to expectations. Did you hear about Michael's new position? My aunt chimed in, referring to another cousin. Chief Financial Officer at Allied Technologies. Now that's a real career. I bit back a smile, knowing that Allied Technologies was actually in talks to be acquired by Quantum Dynamics. In fact, I'd been reviewing the paperwork just that morning, not that I could tell them that. Speaking of Allied Technologies, my mother brightened. They're considering a partnership with your father's company. It could be the biggest deal in Jensen Corp's history. Now that got my attention. I knew exactly what deal she was talking about, a proposed merger between Jensen Corp and Allied Technologies, which would then be acquired by Quantum Dynamics. The contracts were literally sitting on my desk waiting for my signature. You see, what my family didn't know, what almost no one knew, was that I wasn't just an employee at Quantum Dynamics. I was its founder and CEO. I'd started the company right out of college, using the money I'd inherited from my grandmother. While my parents pushed me to take a respectable job at an established firm, I had a vision for quantum computing that nobody else seemed to understand. So I created my own company, but with a twist. I kept my identity as CEO completely private. On paper, Quantum Dynamics was run by a reclusive genius who never made public appearances. In reality, that was me. I maintained a cover identity as a mid-level employee, attending meetings and gathering intelligence while running the company from behind the scenes. Sarah, are you even listening? My mother's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. I was saying how wonderful it would be if you could get a job at Jensen Corp after the merger. Your father could find you a nice administrative position. I'm happy where I am, Mom, I interrupted, earning shocked looks from around the table. I rarely challenged my mother's pronouncements. Happy, she scoffed. Getting coffee and making copies? You have a business degree from Harvard, for heaven's sake. Though God knows how you managed that. I stood up, smoothing my simple black dress, which actually cost more than my mother's entire outfit, not that she'd ever know. I should get going. Early meeting tomorrow. Oh yes, must be prompt with those coffee orders. My mother laughed and the table joined in. As I drove home to my penthouse apartment, another secret my family didn't know about, I made a decision. Tomorrow, when Jensen Corp and Allied Technologies came to Quantum Dynamics to sign the merger documents, I wouldn't hide behind my usual anonymity. It was time to show my family exactly what their secretary had built. The next morning, I arrived at Quantum Dynamics headquarters early, taking the private elevator to the top floor. My official desk was on the third floor, but my real office occupied the entire penthouse level, accessible only by special authorization. Good morning, Ms. Roberts, my executive assistant Maria greeted me. She was one of the few people who knew my true identity. The Jensen Corp and Allied Technologies teams will be here at 10 a.m. Your parents are on the attendee list. I nodded, reviewing the final contracts. The deal was worth $2.8 billion. Jensen Corp and Allied Technologies would merge. Then Quantum Dynamics would acquire the combined entity. My parents' company would essentially become a subsidiary of mine. Have the NDA restrictions been lifted? Asked Maria. Yes. After today's signing, you can publicly reveal your identity as CEO if you choose to. I'd maintain my anonymity for 5 years, building Quantum Dynamics from a startup into a $50 billion tech giant. The company's mysterious CEO had become something of a legend in Silicon Valley, with speculation running wild about their identity. Some thought I was an AI. Others believed I was a retired tech mogul. No one suspected I was the quiet secretary who sat in on their meetings taking notes and observing everything. At 9:55, Maria's voice came through the intercom. "They're here. Your parents just arrived with the Jensen Corp team." I watched through the security feeds as they were escorted to the main conference room. My mother was wearing her favorite power suit, probably chosen specifically to intimidate the little people she assumed worked here. My father looked nervous. This deal could make or break Jensen Corp. Michael, my CFO cousin from Allied Technologies, was there too, looking smug as ever. He'd been bragging about this merger for weeks, telling everyone how he'd orchestrated it all. At 10 a.m. exactly, Maria entered the conference room. "Please take your seats. The CEO will join you shortly." "The mysterious CEO actually shows up to meetings?" My mother's voice carried through the feed. "I thought they never made public appearances." "Times change," I murmured to myself, gathering my documents and heading for the elevator. I took a deep breath as the doors opened onto the conference room level. Through the glass walls, I could see everyone seated around the massive table, my parents and Michael near the front, closest to the CEO's empty chair. "Is that Sarah?" I heard my mother's confused voice as I approached the doors. "What is she doing here?" "This is an executive-level meeting." The doors slid open and I walked in, dressed not in my usual simple office attire but in a custom-made Armani suit that cost more than my mother's car. "Good morning, everyone," I said, moving to the head of the table. "I'm Sarah Roberts, CEO of Quantum Dynamics. Shall we begin?" The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's face went through a fascinating series of expressions: confusion, disbelief, shock, and finally horror. My father dropped his pen, letting it roll across the table unnoticed. Michael shot to his feet. "This is some kind of joke. Sarah's a secretary." "Actually," Maria interjected, distributing folders to everyone, "Ms. Roberts is the founder and CEO of Quantum Dynamics. She's been running the company since its inception 5 years ago." But, my mother sputtered, "You bring people coffee." "No, Mom," I said calmly, opening my folder. "I observe. I learn. I gather intelligence about the companies we plan to acquire. Like Jensen Corp and Allied Technologies. What happened next would redefine my family's dynamics forever." "This is impossible," my mother whispered, her perfectly manicured hands trembling as she opened the folder in front of her. Inside was my complete biography as CEO, including Forbes articles, financial reports, and photographs of me with world leaders, all kept private until now. "Your daughter," Maria announced to the room, "has grown Quantum Dynamics from a startup to a $50 billion company. Our quantum computing technology is 3 years ahead of our nearest competitor. And today," she paused, looking directly at my parents, "we're acquiring both Jensen Corp and Allied Technologies." Michael jumped up again. "No, this is our merger. Allied Technologies is merging with Jensen Corp." "Actually," I said, pulling up the contracts on the room's screens, "you're both being acquired by Quantum Dynamics. The merger is just step one. Perhaps if you'd read the fine print instead of bragging about your negotiating skills, you'd have noticed that." My father finally found his voice. "Sarah, why didn't you tell us?" "Tell you?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Like when I tried to tell you about my quantum computing breakthrough in college, and Mom said I should focus on finding a husband instead. Or when I asked for your support starting my company, and you told me to stop embarrassing the family with pipe dreams." My mother's face had gone from red to white. "But, all these years, you've been getting coffee and taking notes." "I've been running my company," I corrected her. Every coffee run was a chance to overhear competitors' strategies. Every note-taking session was intelligence gathering. While you were all busy looking down on me, I was building an empire. "The mysterious CEO everyone's been speculating about," Michael said slowly. "That was you all along?" "Yes. And now," I smiled, sliding contracts across the table, "I own your company. Both your companies, actually. You have 2 choices. Sign the acquisition agreements or watch your stock prices plummet when I announce that the deal's off." My father reached for the contract with shaking hands. "We have no choice, do we?" "There's always a choice, Dad. Just like I had a choice when you and Mom told me I'd never amount to anything. I chose to prove you wrong." As the contracts were signed, my mother tried one last time. "Darling, if we'd known you were so successful, we would have dash." "What?" I cut her off. Treated me with respect? Been proud of me? That's not how parental love is supposed to work, Mom. After everyone had signed, I stood up. As of now, both Jensen Corp and Allied Technologies are subsidiaries of Quantum Dynamics. Michael, you'll be reporting to Maria starting tomorrow. Mom, Dad, your company will undergo a complete restructuring. You're firing us? My mother gasped. No, I replied. I'm teaching you what I learned 5 years ago, that success isn't about titles or appearances. It's about innovation, hard work, and believing in yourself even when no one else does. That evening, as I sat in my office overlooking the city, Maria brought in a bottle of champagne. Your parents are still in the lobby, she said. They've been there for hours. I thought about all the family dinners where they'd belittled me, all the times they'd dismissed my dreams. Let them wait, I said. They've got a lot to think about. The next day, every major news outlet carried the story. Tech's mystery CEO revealed. Sarah Roberts steps into the light. The articles detailed my journey from secretary to secret billionaire, celebrating the brilliant strategy of hiding in plain sight. My phone was flooded with messages from relatives who'd mocked my career choices, now desperate to explain themselves. I ignored them all except one, a simple text from my father. I was wrong. You're not just successful, you're brilliant. I'm sorry I never saw it before. I finally replied to that one. Thanks, Dad. See you at the next board meeting. Don't forget the coffee, I take mine black. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's showing those who doubted you that they never really knew you at all. And as for my mother? She finally got her wish. Her daughter became the talk of all her social circles, just not in the way she'd imagined.